This week, you are entering into the final phase of your writing of your business message, which is completing it. So, one thing that I've tried to communicate through the textbook, and what the textbook ultimately communicates, is that there are three overarching phases of writing. There's planning, there's actually doing the writing, the composing, and then there's the completing, putting the finishing touches on it, so to speak. And Beauvais and Thiel mentioned that it might be tempting to submit your business message when it's done, or when you are done producing the content for it, right? But they add the next step, which is going back and revising for readability, is what they call it. And part of the worksheets that you guys have to do this week introduce this notion of readability. And ultimately, it's a very rhetorical notion, and it kind of bookends what we've been talking about all semester. Because the last 2 weeks are going to be resume writing. That's kind of a new separate thing. So, not new for you guys, but in terms of introducing a new topic. And the last week is open. You guys are actually going to have to fill out a questionnaire to see what you guys, so I could see what you guys would like covered that week. But it does reinforce the notion introduced in the first 2 weeks and then kind of reiterated throughout that producing a document isn't about you. It's not about what makes sense to you. It's not about what looks good to you. It's not about whether or not you think the organization is good. It's about whether or not you think the audience will think it's good, whether or not it's readable, right? So this notion of readability is a characteristic of a written document that essentially accommodates the text to the user or the reader. So the closest analogy is usability. If you've heard that term usability, if you've done any sort of web design or any sort of work in engineering, usability is the extent to which an object is usable for a person. So how easy is it to use? How enjoyable is it to use? How functional, how logical is it to use? And people do usability testing. They'll watch individuals interact with the technology or the artifact, and they'll see how can we better this relationship, right? So how can we make this tool better? So you see that a lot with websites, with intuitive design, with human-centered design, making sure that the product is ultimately most usable for the person who it's designed for. So texts are the same thing, right? So if you imagine text to be artifacts that are used by a variety of people, then what that does is that reconfigures your perception of the text as not something that is reflective of you, right? But as something that helps the reader do X, Y, Z. So this is kind of a paradigm shift, because when I teach writing, even at graduate level in business courses, or first year writing to freshmen, or upper level writing to English majors, whatever the context is, we have this kind of ingrained assumption that we are writing to display, right? That we are writing to show off our rhetorical prowess, our literary expertise, our vocabulary, whatever it is. We are writing to display, a showpiece, right? And this is kind of how a lot of us have learned writing, right? So you write something and you read it aloud, or it's poetry, or you're essentially trying to show how intelligent you are with the writing. But a lot of people who study writing professionally don't necessarily see effective writing as doing that. Obviously, there's still poetry readings, and you want to impress people with your vocabulary and with your ability to rhyme or to make meaning with a variety of words in a creative way. But business writing, workplace writing, is not that. It's not showiness. It's efficiency, right? And that's obviously a word that, for you guys as business majors, has probably been drilled into you for a little while. Organizational efficiency, textual efficiency, whatever it is. You want to make sure that the reader understands that document, comprehends it, can find the information that they need at a pace that they will most likely require, which is very quick and very expediently. So what that does is that reconfigures your version of the text as kind of, you're helping them do something through a piece of writing. So you're helping them understand what your idea is, or where your progress is in a certain project, or you're helping them understand what your proposed idea is for this new social media branch of a company, or you're helping them make an assessment on your productivity as a worker, whatever it is, like a yearly assessment. Whatever it is, if you reconfigure it that way and say, how can I craft my document? How can I reconfigure my document as a way to help people do things better and more efficiently? What that does is that not only paints you in a much, I guess, brighter color to other people, paints you in a more positive light, I guess would probably be a better way to say it, to the audience. But it also makes them feel like you are a good writer, right? Because good writing isn't choosing, the $50 word, or it's not showing off how long you can make a sentence while having it still be grammatically correct. Being a good writer is understanding what the person or your audience needs and writing the document that helps them do that. So Chapter 5 helps you do that by focusing on concision, clarity, comprehension, readability, all these concepts. Says, okay, you got your content there, and that's good. You got everything out spotted on a page, all your thoughts, all your feelings are there. Now go back, put on the glasses of your audience, and view it that way, and anticipate how they would react. Anticipate, read it through their eyes, read it through their lens. So anticipate what sorts of obstacles they're going to have, anticipate how they'll be interpreting you. So Larry Beeson's article this week talks about ethos and error, and talks about error as being related to your ethos, so your character. And we all make judgments about people's grammar. Well, not all of us, but you might make subconscious assumptions about someone's thought if it's produced grammatically incorrect. So, for example, when someone posts something on Facebook or comment on your thread, and it's something you disagree with politically, and they spelled there wrong, they put T-H-E-I-R instead of T-H-E-Y''R-E, you will point that out instead of addressing the actual content of their message. Whereas if it's something that you agree with, let's say it's a point supporting your argument, or someone you're supporting this election or whatever it is, you're more likely to overlook those grammatical errors because you are forgiving to their position. So we hold things against each other dependent upon either our lack of familiarity with them, or we think that poor grammar says something about an individual's intelligence or an individual's character. And Beeson explores that concept, which I think is very important for you guys in a business setting, because I think we do make assumptions about people's grammar, whether they're second language, English as a second language learner, or if they're careless. Going back to Carl Wyon's original article, Why He Won't Hire People Who Use Poor Grammar, because he thinks that it's attached to people who don't pay attention to detail, where I know I've made grammatical mistakes in emails to you guys, or in emails to undergrads, or whoever it is. And I kind of cringe because it's, you don't want someone to think that you're careless or that you didn't review the message, but sometimes I don't review the email message, right? Because of expediency, because I have so many to respond to. So anyway, it's a very complicated topic. Beeson does a small study, a small scale 14-person study on that. So I'm having you guys read that just so you guys can think about how error is related to ethos, and how it's my personal belief that while grammar isn't necessarily always reflective of your character or your demeanor or your work ethic, it does, unfortunately, carry a lot of weight in the business world. And I'm sure you guys have know this, that a report riddled with grammatical errors or syntax errors or spelling errors, it's just not going to fly, especially if you're sending it to another stakeholder or a vendor that you're working with, and you're representing the company's image. People will make these subconscious associations between, okay, this person can't write, this person doesn't understand what a comma is, what else don't they know? Or what other small details aren't they paying attention to, especially if you're dealing with shipping numbers or whatever. So that's what you guys are doing this week. You guys are taking what you thought may have been the final project, and you are reviewing it through the audience's lens and trying to make the document more readable. So enhanced readability means enhancing the characteristic of the document as something that is amenable and crafted for the audience, not for you. So let me know if you have any questions. Be sure to fill out that final questionnaire. It's a one-question questionnaire about things left uncovered. When I've taught the class last semester face-to-face, in the final discussion, kind of wrap-up discussion, there's an hour-long discussion. A lot of students had a variety of questions that I never thought that you guys would want to know about writing. So I kind of want to leave the last week open to you guys. Is there something that you thought I was going to cover that you would like to see covered? Whatever it is. And then the last week will just kind of be me answering kind of questions or having you guys do activities on things that that you guys thought would be covered or would like covered. So I give you guys a voice there because you guys have, I don't know, together with the 12 of you, I don't know, decades and decades, almost 100 years of experience and workplace experience total if you aggregate it. So let me know where you guys heads are at with that, and email me if you have any questions.